Let us pray. Dear God, we come before you to acknowledge you, and to acknowledge our dependence upon you. We thank you for being a God who hears and responds to those who call upon you with a pure heart. We thank you for these servants and these representatives that are gathered here tonight to do the work that is set before them. And we humbly ask now as always, O God, that you would give them wisdom, give them courage, and give them the convictions to do what is right. And I pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I'm going to change the presentations around just a bit, and I'm going to ask...
Roll call first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bell? Here. Vice Mayor Burgess?
Here.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Here.
Councilman McCormick?
Here.
Councilman Nelson?
Here.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Here.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Thank you very much. Additions, deletions, deferrals?
Just, Madam Mayor, I'd like to request an executive session in the Redlands case versus City of Homestead.
Thank you. Now I'm going to adjust the special presentations just a bit tonight. I'm going to move the property appraiser candidate up, Mr. Jim Shedd. Vice Mayor?
Yes, this is a friend of mine, Mr. Jim Shedd, who's running for the county's property appraiser, and I'd like to give him a few minutes to introduce himself to the City of Homestead and all its citizens as he gets ready to go through the election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Councilmen and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Shedd. I am the candidate, one of the 4 candidates for property appraiser of Dade County. There's a reason why I decided to do this is because, as a friend of mine put it, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of electing some politicians, not all, but some politicians who then let us down. I've always been interested in politics. I've always followed politics. And it came time when the January referendum came around, I voted for it, as well as 72% of the citizens of Dade County, to change it from an appointed to an elected. Let me give you a little bit of a background about who I am, and hopefully that will help you make up your mind. I have 33 years of service to this great country of ours. I served in the United States Army. I volunteered to the Army in 1968. 1969, I was in Vietnam in an assault helicopter company supporting a light infantry brigade. I then returned to Miami, went to school. I eventually got my degree in criminal justice, and I was hired by 2 different law enforcement agencies in the state of Florida. And in 1983, I was lucky enough to be picked among 10,000 applicants. They picked 300 of us to join the DEA. I didn't second guess them. I didn't second question them. I ran to join the DEA. I was in DEA over 21 years. I served here in Miami, Dallas, back to Miami. I was in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia for 3 years. I served in Detroit, and I retired in Miami. When I saw that this position was coming open, I said, you know, stop whining, stop complaining, get into the ring for once and see how that works out. Give it the best shot you can. If the people honor you with their vote, then I would be privileged to serve you. I would be an advocate for the citizens, not an advocate for the institution. I would be an advocate for you. I would do everything possible that I can to push the envelope of the laws to make it in favor of us, the citizens, the taxpayers, who I think, bluntly speaking, have been left behind on this property tax issue and the property appraiser's office. I only brought up the past, my past life and my past careers, because I think that it's important to have somebody in there who is not a person who is not going to be intimidated by other bureaucrats, by lobbyists, by special interest group. I'm pretty much a man who has made himself by himself. I arrived in this country in 1963, and I am now 59 years old, and I intend to continue serving the public. Hopefully you will vote for me November 4th. My number is 94. Jim Shedd, S-H-E-D-D. If you go to my webpage, jimshedd.com, you can see a little bit of history. You'll see some of the points that I want to elaborate. I don't want to elaborate at this point. I'm taking too much time. But if you go to that website, you will see at least 10 reasons of 10 things that I want to do to make that office better serve the public, which I don't think is what it's doing now. So, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd now like to move the Officer of the Month next so that we can do both of Councilman Lobos's together. So I'd like to bring Officer of the Month, August 2008, Uriel Fueste, Councilman Nelson.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. City Manager, Captain Kent. Good evening, everyone. I am Captain Angela Washington with the Homestead Police Department. On behalf of our Awards Committee, I am here to present to you our Officer of the Month for August 2008, which is Officer Uriel Fueste. Officer Fueste has been a part of the Police Department's family since December 2006. He is currently assigned to the Uniform Patrol Division working the afternoon shift. He is a hard worker and a very dedicated employee. He's young, energetic, and believes in coming to work every day. Officer Fueste had a very productive month with a total of 9 arrests, 2 felonies, 3 misdemeanors, and 4 DUIs. He handled close to 140 calls for service, wrote 33 reports, and issued 23 traffic citations. Officer Fueste has a passion for traffic enforcement, particularly DUIs. He is vigilant in removing impaired drivers from the streets of Homestead, which helps save lives and prevents property damage. Whenever he is not responding to calls for service, Officer Fueste utilizes the slow periods of his shift to initiate 90 calls to include conducting extra watches and enforcing traffic laws, which amplifies the developing work ethic of Officer Fueste. He refuses to have any downtime. Some of his other accomplishments: on August 3rd, 2008, Officer Fueste saw a subject throwing rocks at parked vehicles. When the subject saw Officer Fueste, he started throwing rocks at the officer. Despite the possible danger of being struck and injured by the rocks, Officer Fueste attempted to confront the subject. The subject then took flight on foot with Officer Fueste in pursuit. Officer Fueste apprehended the subject and charged him accordingly. 3 vehicles were damaged as a result of the subject's actions, including Officer Fueste's marked police vehicle. On August 22nd, 2008, Officer Fueste responded to a call involving a subject threatening a victim with a firearm. Upon his arrival, an investigation revealed that the victim's ex-boyfriend of 4 months had seen her earlier that day talking with another male. The subject approached the vehicle where the victim was sitting and punched the window, shattering it. A short time later, while the victim was standing in front of her mother's residence, the subject drove by and pointed a firearm at her and told her that he was going to shoot her. At that point, the victim ran inside the residence and summoned police. Officer Fueste quickly disseminated the subject's information over the police radio. As a result of Officer Fueste's quick actions and backup officers in the area, the subject was arrested without incident and charged with aggravated assault with a firearm. Officer Fueste's performance during the month of August was very impressive. In fact, this kind of performance from Officer Fueste has become his norm. Again, he has proven himself to be a hard-working, diligent, young officers that can be relied on day in and day out to put forth a maximum effort. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Officer of the Month for August 2008, Officer Yoel Fuste.
On behalf of the Mayor and Council, I'd like to present this plaque to you. Presented to Officer Yoel Fuste for being selected Officer of the Month, August 2008. Along with being selected Officer of the Month, there's a little gift package from our local community, businesses that in tough times are always willing to give to the officers. Awards Incorporated donated the plaque. The City Attorney's Weiss Sirota donated $100. First National Bank of South Florida, $50 savings bond. Community Bank, $50 savings bond. Ferguson Jewelers, $75 gift certificate. Logos, $50 gift certificate. Blake Chevrolet, a $300 value. Oil Lube and car detailing. Captain Car Wash, free car wash. Mita Jensen, 2 memberships for the Homestead Community Concerts, and dinner for 2 at Maya's Creole Cafe at Stickenstein's, right next to the police station.
Good afternoon. I just want to say thank you, city officials, the police department, chief of police, captain, lieutenant, sergeant, my fellow officers. Thank you. I'm proud of you, sir.
Thank you and congratulations again. We now have Public Power Week proclamation presentation, Councilman Lobos, followed by presentation of Journeyman Lineman Certificate to Jesus Moro for completion of the City of Homestead Joint Apprentice Journeyman Training Program.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I was about to take Ken Conco's notes and read them myself. Yes, as Mayor Bell announced, this week is the 22nd Annual Public Power Week, and so I have a proclamation that I would like to read and present, and then Mr. Conco will follow me in reading his portion of it. So it's a proclamation that says, whereas we the citizens of Homestead, Florida place high value on local control over community services and therefore have chosen to operate a community-owned, locally controlled, non-for-profit electric utility, and as consumers and owners of our electric utility have a direct say in our utility operations and policies. Homestead Energy is a valuable community asset that contributes substantially to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental protection, economic development, and safety awareness. Homestead Energy Services will continue to bring lower cost, safe, reliable electricity to community homes and businesses just as it has since 1960, the year when the utility was created to serve all of the citizens of Homestead, Florida. So be it further resolved that our community joins hands with more than 2,000 other public power systems in the United States in the celebration of public power and recognition that Homestead Energy Services is good for consumers, business, the community, and the nation. So I, Linda Bell, Mayor of the City of Homestead, declare the week of October 5th through the 11th to be designated as the 22nd Annual Public Power Week. Thank you.
Power has a long history in the state of Florida, going back more than 115 years. In fact, Homestead Energy Services has been in place since 1916, only 3 years shy of when the city was incorporated. Today, there are 34 municipal utilities in the state of Florida. They serve over 3 million Floridians, and collectively, they are the third largest supplier of electricity in the state.
Public power utilities are driven by service, not by profit. They exist to serve fellow citizens, not to reap dividends for investors. They involve everyone with the decision-making process by conducting their business at open meetings such as this one. They return revenues to their communities, helping cities to provide beneficial services while maintaining low taxes. And above all, they are accountable to the citizens of the community that they serve. Rarely do we stop and think on a daily basis about how much we rely on electricity. But the employees of Homestead Energy and the employees of the over 2,000 other municipal utilities in the United States think about it every day. And during this week, we take time to recognize these employees that come to work every day and make sure you keep your lights on. And I'd like all the staff from the electric utility that's here tonight, please stand, be recognized. Picture.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, council members, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the hard-working men and women in the electric department. I am really very pleased to see so many people coming tonight to participate in this celebration. And also, I want to take this opportunity to welcome a young man back here to Homestead. Jason, please stand up. Jason is one of the people who went through the apprentice program and became a lineman, and also he decided he wants to leave Homestead and came back. So we welcome him very warmly here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chihara, Mr. Conco, and all of our utility employees. Next, I would like to make a presentation for the Joint Apprentice Journeyman Training Program, and I'll be making this presentation to Mr. Jesus Morua. The Joint Apprentice Journeyman Training Program was reestablished on April 26, 1999 between the City of Homestead and the IBEW Local 359 to fulfill the need for and maintain the level of highly skilled journeyman linemen in the City of Homestead. Additionally, the program complies with Article 28 of the City of Homestead IBEW contract. A Joint Apprentice Committee was subsequently established to administer the policies and procedures of the JAJTP. Since 1999, we have had 11 employees graduate from this program, with the last one graduating in March of 2008. Mr. Jesus Moroa, employment history. In April 17th of 1995, he was hired as part-time laborer in the Parks Department. November 17th, 1995, he became the meter serviceman collector in customer service. February 1st of 2005, he became part of the apprentice program as helper. Jesus is now our newest journeyman lineman graduate as of September 3rd, 2008. And I would like to now recognize the members of the Apprentice Committee, which are Jose Landrian, IBEW Chairman, Wes Copeland, IBEW Vice Chairman, William Minor, Apprentice Instructor, and Marcy Hesse, our Director of Human Resources. And now, Mr. Moroa, it's my pleasure to present to you the Certificate of Completion of Apprenticeship. It says this is to certify that Jesus Moroa has satisfactorily completed the apprentice training in accordance with standards established by the City of Homestead and the Joint Apprentice Journeyman Training Program. After September 3rd, 2008, he is recognized as being qualified to perform as a journeyman lineman. Congratulations. He just says thank you. Would anyone else like to say anything?
William Miner, Apprentice Instructor, Line Foreman. Since 1999, we have 14 apprentices in the program. Out of the 14, we graduated 12. 3 left town, 2 came back. Out of the 14 people we have in our line crew today,
3 were trained outside the city of Homestead, including myself. The rest went through the apprentice program either prior to or after 1999. And Jesse is the last one to graduate. And we have no more program at this time. Thank you. Congratulations to Jesse stepping in and did a good job. Proud of him.
You're not going to block in this crowd.
Thank you and congratulations on that wonderful achievement. We now have economic stimulus payment update with Lois Jones from Galata. Lois, please come forward.
Council. Thank you very much. We have learned through the IRS that over 50,000 people in Dade County have not applied for their economic stimulus payment. It's a lot of people. I talked with Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart's office, and we believe that it's perhaps the elderly and low-income people, some of whom don't even know that they qualify. So we were asked to hold a meeting, an event really, where the people would come to our offices and we would help them to fill out the application forms so that they could get their stimulus payment. The IRS sent me several flyers in English and in Spanish, and I will leave them at the back of the room. And I also have a flyer from Galata giving the instructions as to address, telephone number, and so forth. If you know of anybody who falls into that category, please have them come by. If they're not sure that they even qualify, we can help them. We're going to have 2 IRS agents there to help with the application forms. So please, anybody that you know, I suspect there are a lot of people out there who need the money and don't even know they qualify. So send them all to us. Even if it's after the date when we have the meeting, we can still help them to fill out the forms. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jones. I agree with you. I think it might be a very disproportionate amount of senior citizens who have failed to do that, and I'm sure many of them desperately need it. Thank you so much. Before we proceed with the consent agenda, I have a fairly brief statement that I would like to make. About 2.5 weeks or so ago, the Miami Herald ran an article that I found to be blatantly false, patently untrue, and just very misleading to the public. So what does a public servant do when they find that things are written that are not factual and untrue? Well, I don't have the ability to write a story. I don't have the paper, so I have the public. But I felt like it was my responsibility to come to the public and clarify things. There's nothing worse than having distorted information put out into the public, and I think it's very, very important to always make sure those things are cleared up. I know I take a risk always by bringing it back up again that maybe people didn't read it, but I don't care. It's worth the risk because things must be clarified, things must be open and honest. There was an article that was run September the 18th, Miami Herald, and written by Rebecca De La Gloria. And the title was Tax Money Used for Mario Diaz-Balart Political Posters. I want you to know and everybody to know that that is absolutely, absolutely false, untrue, has been proven to be untrue time and time again. And when that article was written, the reporter knew that that was untrue. My only alternative, like I said, is to bring it to you. First sentence, city taxpayers in Homestead footed the bill for nearly $500 worth of posters touting federal projects Representative Mario Diaz-Balart has championed. City officials acknowledge. What city officials acknowledged was that we had created presentation boards, many of them having to do with state projects, federal projects, community development block grant projects, and on and on and on. And we absolutely did use
these presentation boards at a fundraiser, but they're not political posters, they're not political tools, they're not anything. If anybody has seen a political poster, they know what a political poster looks like. It usually says, vote for somebody. Vote for somebody. You can look all over town right now and see yard signs. I'm going to show you what this Herald reporter called a political poster. You have seen these quite a bit. You've seen them in budget hearings. You see them at town hall meetings. You will hear them again. You will see them again and again. And when I had requested these boards, as I had requested many of them, was after we had a town hall meeting in the Northwest. We desperately needed some type of boards to show the community where their dollars are coming from and where their dollars are going. Thus, the creation of presentation boards, which, by the way, are not new. We have been doing them for a very, very, very long time. This one says, Infiltration and Inflow Reduction Project. You will never see the name of Congressman Meredith Blart on here anywhere. You won't know that how much money he brought in. You would never know that because what it does is it says, Project Summary. Construction cost, $3.2 million. Funding sources, U.S. EPA grant award, over $1 million. These are done with a purpose, and I'm telling you, when I see things like this, they need to be brought to the public because we cannot have these types of distortions, and I'm going to deal with them when they come before me. And I had written a statement, but I think I'll just go right off of my statement. But it's very, very frustrating to me. And it's very biased reporting. And I want to tell you, I personally spent about an hour and a half on 2 different times on the telephone with this particular reporter. She got very personal, she got very combative with me, and it really caught me off guard and took me by surprise. Questions such as, well, are you a friend of Mario's? Are you friends? And I said, excuse me, I'm a friend of anybody who's a friend of Homestead. That is my stand. If this representative, whether they're in the State House, whether they're in the County Commission, whether they're in the school board, whether they're in Congress, in the Senate, if they're doing a good job for the citizens of the city of Homestead, they are doing a good job, then yes, they are a friend. And they are a friend because of how they produce. And I will continue to support anybody who supports the citizens of Homestead. It's not about me. It has never been about me. It's about you. It's about the public. Now, the reason I'm speaking up is for everyone in this council, because we are sitting ducks and we are targets. It's time to start speaking up when we see these types of things. I think that these types of things are shameful, and they have to be brought out, and quite frankly, I just want to say shame on you to the reporter, and shame on you to the Miami Herald for letting something like that go forth. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move it.
I'll second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes carry. Thank you. Public hearings?
Good evening. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you'd like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda package on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda. At this time, the clerk... Any disclosures? At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on any quasi-judicial item.
My apologies. Councilwoman Lobos?
No.
We're swearing in.
Swear in people for their testimony.
Oh, sorry. Please stand and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Gail Sturman,
Hereby swear or affirm
hereby swear or affirm
that the information I present
that the information I present
shall be the truth and nothing but the truth.
shall be the truth and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is the second reading on this item. Do I have a motion?
I move it.
I'll second.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I need to read the title first.
Oh, sorry. We're all out of swear.
Yes. Second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, considering the request of Stephanie and Richard Ward for rezoning from one family district R1 to professional business restricted district B1A for property located at 175 Northwest 14th Street, consisting of approximately .31 acres, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move it. I'll second.
Thank you. We've been properly moved. Is there a staff report?
This is the second reading, so everything is the same. There's no additional.
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
Any questions from the council?
Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mrs. Waldman?
It's me down here. Again, I just wanted to say thank you. Mrs. Ward wasn't here at the last meeting. I know you were stranded due to Hurricane Ike, but I just wanted to say thank you for giving back to the community and investing in the community, and we welcome you. I welcome you with open arms.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Please go to the podium and state your name and the address for the record.
Come up to the podium. Sorry. Please state your name for the record. Stephanie Ward.
And just whatever comments you had, we need to record them properly.
The comment was, it's a pleasure to be in Homestead, and I'm honored to be able to serve, and thank you all for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the applicant? Nothing at this time. This is a public hearing. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to make any sort of comment towards this applicant? At this time, public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk, do the roll call, please.
Councilman McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. Have a good evening. It's always nice to see you, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want the public to know I had to recuse myself on that item because when Stephanie formed her corporation, I'm a member of the board, so congratulations as well. Thank you. Now I can comment now that it's over. Congratulations. Next item.
Yes, the next item is moving on to your legislative items. Tab number 11, this is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Chapter 1.5 Concurrency Management System of the Code of Ordinances by amending Section 1.5-3 Definitions, Section 1.5-5 Management and Monitoring Program, Section 1.5-6 Adequate Public Facility Review, and Section 1.5-7 Transportation Proportionate Fair Share Mitigation to modify the city's procedures for review of public facilities, capacity, and certificates of concurrency, further amending Chapter 30 Zoning, Article 2 Administration, Division 2 Procedure for Zoning Amendments, Special Exception Permits, Plan Unit Developments, and variances, etc., Section 30-47, Uniform Site Plan Requirements, to modify the procedure for extensions of approved site plans, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading. I would like to mention that your staff would like to add some language to the ordinance. If you can turn to page 7 of the ordinance, under 3, where it says expiration, dealing with a certificate of concurrency compliance. If you go down to 3A, at the very end of the sentence where it says the certificate of concurrency compliance period, your staff would like to add the following sentence to read, all outstanding fees related to the initial concurrency review and certificate of concurrency approval must be paid in full to the city prior to filing an application for any such extension. And that language would then carry over also to page 14, which deals with the site plan portion of this ordinance. And under 30-47, under E, time limit for construction, you'll see under E1, at the end of that sentence that's underlined, we would add a new sentence that would read, all outstanding fees related to the initial development order approval must be paid in order for this, must be paid in full to the city prior to the filing of an application for any such extension. So that language relating to the payment in full of any fees associated with either the concurrency application or the site plan extension application would read appropriately in those sections.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion as stated, as changed.
Madam Mayor, we have some comments. Comments on the ordinance?
We still have to, we need a motion and a second on the floor before we can have discussion. Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion and there's a second. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. There was a time for a staff report. You want a staff report now? Would you prefer I let the applicant speak?
The staff report is the same as before. This came through the request of the developers meeting that we had, and the instruction came from the mayor and the city manager to revise this ordinance to help a little bit with the developers.
Certainly. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, Mr. Manager, and then...
Yeah, I just like to emphasize that this was after we had that developers meeting at the clubhouse.
Yes.
It was strongly recommended or requested by developers to amend our existing ordinances to extend the site plan based on the economic situations, and we did accommodate their requests as we see in the best interest of the citizens of the city of Homestead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. Yes, sir.
Hi, Madam Mayor. Cynthia Archimondia, 1441 Brickell Avenue. On behalf of the Alger family, I'm accompanied by Amanda Quirk, my colleague, Carla Alger, Richard Alger, John Lynn. We had some questions regarding the ordinance, and maybe through the mayor, just for purposes of discussion, and then maybe hopefully the council could ask of staff to clarify the ordinance. In one of the first whereases, it talks about the council finds that the timing for payment of proportionate fair share mitigation fees should be adjusted to be concurrent with the granting of the initial development order and certificate of concurrency compliance. It's a little confusing because it looks like what you're doing is, for instance, I think there was a rezoning tonight where the staff is saying that the application is concurrent, but there is, at least in the packet, there's no evidence of a certificate of concurrency compliance. So it seems as though, and later on in the ordinance it talks about having to secure a certificate of concurrency compliance before the T-plat and before the site plan. Why? Because typically that's when you vest for concurrency. Historically, typically, you vest for concurrency when you get your T-plat, and you have your T-plat for a year. You can renew it for 2 additional years, 120 days before the expiration of the T-plat. So we understand that that makes sense, that unless you have a development agreement or a proportionate fair share agreement, you get your certificate of concurrency compliance at the time just before T-plat. That's what vests you for that year and a half, subject to Mike saying you're okay for the additional 6 months. And you pay your impact fees, the ordinance says, at that time, and your proportionate fair share at that time. Typically, the impact fees actually get paid at building permit, but for purposes of this exercise, you guys are saying at the time you get your certificate of compliance. So where we're a little lost is in that initial whereas, and I'll get to some other points, is if you're not getting your certificate of concurrency compliance at the rezoning stage, if all you're getting at that point is simply a determination from staff that you meet the adopted level of service, and you're not getting it at the comp plan stage, then, and so that's really a question. Do you need to get it at the plan amendment stage or at the rezoning stage, or according to the ordinance, are you only getting it just before your T-plat and just before your site plan approval? Can we have James answer that for a minute?
Thank you very much. James.
I have some other points. That's the first question. I'm sorry. I just needed so as to follow up on that question.
Thank you.
The way the ordinance reads and the way that you would follow with this ordinance is that it's not necessarily going to apply at the comp plan stage at the rezoning. It's when you come in for actual development on the site. So it would be at the site plan stage or the platting stage when you would come in for a certificate of concurrency, not necessarily at the comp plan stage or not necessarily at the rezoning stage. Now, depending on the nature and the scope of the development, that's not to say that you couldn't do it then. You certainly would be able to do it at a comp plan stage, and with big comp plan changes, as a matter of fact, the Department of Community Affairs is wanting to see that adequate public facilities are in place for those types of proposed changes. So the way the ordinance reads now, it's site plan T-plat when you actually realize development. What this is saying is that we're not even going to contemplate moving forward with the site plan application until you actually have a certificate of concurrency in hand. That's the ticket for you to move through the development process. That reserves your right in the line for concurrency, and then you can go through the process. So does that answer your question, or would you like more?
Yes.
Okay.
James, thank you. And certainly that makes sense to us. We were a little confused because in the whereas it talks about timing for payment of proportionate fair share should be adjusted concurrent with the granting of the initial development order. And typically your comp plan amendment, your rezoning is an initial development order. That is, the site plan approval or T-plat isn't really an initial development order. It's more akin to an intermediate development order. You're a little bit further down the road. So we were a little confused. We're pleased to hear from the city attorney that, in fact, it's not at the plan amendment and rezoning. So, and we understand that a year and a half for vesting from the site plan and plat or T-plat is typical. That's not atypical. What happens when you then enter into a development agreement pursuant to which there is a proportionate fair share component and you agree to pay $11 million for the Lucy Street interchange to meet your proportionate fair share? Are you supposed to get your concurrency certificate at that time, or are you supposed to get your concurrency certificate at the T-plat or the site plan approval? I think based on what the city attorney said, you would get it at the T-plat or site plan approval, and then you're vested for a year and a half at that time. I would ask the city attorney, or I would ask the council, that if you have a developer that is entering into, in good faith, a development agreement, and let's talk about why we're here. We're here because for a number of years the Alger family has come before the council. The council has granted a number of, exemption from the moratorium, supporting the Lucy Street interchange, agreement to transmit. In fact, our plan amendment was transmitted years ago. More recently, you all know that we ran into a little bit of an agreement to disagree with the administration because the administration felt that, notwithstanding the fact that we had been negotiating in good faith with the city attorney for over 2 years on what was vesting for over a 10-year period of time, that is the term of the development agreement, the administration took the position that we could only be vested for 3 years. And so, of course, we said, well, excuse me, I have the floor, if I can just finish.
I'm talking to the mayor, not to you.
Excuse me?
I'm talking to the mayor, not to you.
I'm speaking to the mayor as well.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I will determine who speaks and when they speak, not you. Okay, thank you. One minute, Mr. Mayor. I already know exactly what's happening here, so it's okay. Go ahead and finish.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And so I think, and the reason that we came here tonight pursuant to this ordinance is that we thought maybe, just maybe, and we're hopeful, because we all think that the Lucy Street interchange is a positive contribution to the city in terms of enhancing the level of service, where the Alger family was about to enter into a joint participation agreement with the Turnpike where they were willing to front $11 million for the Lucy Street interchange. And of course, you don't front $11 million to be vested only for 3 years. This project won't be off the ground. In fact, the interchange probably won't be completed in 3 years. So we thought all reasonable persons would think, oh, maybe there was some confusion. Maybe the administration was mixing the vesting pursuant to a certificate of concurrency compliance, which is a year and a half, that we understand, with vesting under a development agreement that comes before you pull your certificate of concurrency compliance at the T-plat and or the site plan stage. And so we're here in the spirit of collaboration and clarification to see if better minds would prevail or reasonable minds would prevail, and hopefully we reach the conclusion that, yes, it doesn't make sense to ask a private developer when they're funding an interchange that everybody believes is in the best interest of the city to the tune of $11 million to only be vested for 3 years. Nobody would be that foolhardy. I don't think you would have anybody stepping up to the plate to do that. Rather, what we were proposing and what we think is not unreasonable and is not inconsistent with this ordinance is that we would enter into a development agreement and proportionate fair share language within that development agreement pursuant to which you would have the plan amendment, you would have the rezoning, we would be vested, we would put the $11 million, build the interchange, and then we would be vested for that capacity, for that 4,000 trips, for a period of, let's say, 10 years. When we then come in, or the earlier of, pulling a certificate of concurrency, I just call it a concurrency certificate, it's too long with all the CCCs, the concurrency certificate, at the time that you pull that, then you have a year and a half. Why? Because at that point you're at the site plan T-plat stage. And so I don't think it's inconsistent, and maybe we are hopeful that the administration was just confusing the two issues, thinking that we were suggesting 10 years from the certificate of concurrency compliance, when in fact what we were saying is something different. We're saying 10 years from the execution of the development agreement because, of course, we are investing $11 million and need to know that we're going to be able to move forward within those 10 years. But if we come forward with a request for a site plan or a T-plat, and at that point request the certificate of concurrency compliance, we understand that under this ordinance it would only be valid for a year, except if we then need an extension of 6 months, in which case we would go to the manager. That seems to be the most reasonable reading. We're hopeful that we can get you all to see it that way and try to kind of revisit our plan amendment come February.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Manager. I absolutely knew that was what was going to come up, and very often, and I apologize because this can be very confusing to the members of the public and what's happening here. Sometimes these things really should be worked out in a meeting and in an office, and so what happens is when they're aired out in the public, there's a lot of confusion, and very often we have people that are coming front in the public when these really should be done in closed-door meetings. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphone over to the manager.
Okay. Let me just, Mayor, council members, with all due respect to the gentleman over there, I'm sorry, I don't really know your name. But
Santiago Chimendia.
Santiago, nice to see you here. I had the opportunity to meet with Santiago once, which we discussed the concurrency issue. So when he says about administration and the administration is confused, I want you to look at me very closely and read my lips. I am not confused. I will not recommend to this council for the taxpayers of the city of Homestead to hold the bill for you in the future.
To hold what?
To split it, to pay for the future of that interchange. We said I'd be happy to sit down with you and the Algers family to work out the details. But you met with me once and you chose to discuss all your issues with council members. Not one single time you came and discussed it with me after. You discussed it with James and Cherie, and I told James and Cherie what we like to get together with you and discuss it. You never bothered to come and meet with me. As a matter of fact, Cherie scheduled a meeting for you to show up, and he did not show up to the meeting. I just want you to know that this administration worked very hardly, me and prior administration, but I can tell you Cherie and myself worked very hard with the turnpike. We actually went to the turnpike to ask for that interchange to be there. And I can tell you it wasn't easy to have an interchange close to the interchange we have in Campbell Drive. But for the gentleman to come here and misrepresent facts, I can assure you he is misrepresenting facts. And again, I want to tell you this is a policy issue.
It's not a concurrency only. It's a policy issue. You telling me guarantee capacity 10 years from now, actually 3 years, I don't know, he's referring to an administration. I can tell you that it did not come from me, it did not come from my assistant, so I don't know which administration you're referring to. I wanted to sit down with you and the Algiers family and try to reach an agreement. You never bothered to come and talk to the city manager for information. You chose to call council members, you chose to call the mayor, and they all very politely called me and told me what do I think. And I can tell you, mayor and council members, for those of you who spoke to me about this issue, he wants us to guarantee. I'm not telling him go. You know, if we're going to go for this, and of course I don't want to write an agreement sitting here. I'll be happy to sit down with him after this meeting or any time in the future to work out an agreement. But I cannot guarantee capacity or recommend to you capacity that 10 years from now, the City of Homestead residents are going to find themselves to guaranteeing 4,000 trips, that you may have to widen 328 or Campbell Drive, and the bill could be $60 or $100 million. For him, it's very easy. If he sees it's very easy, why can't he just agree to enter into an agreement with the City of Homestead? I'm not telling him I want you to build an interchange today. I'm saying you just commit to building an interchange, and when you come for a building permit, you build the interchange. I'm not telling him to build an interchange today. There's a natural depletion of capacity of 5%. Shiri, the number is 5% a year, correct?
Right now we are using 3%.
3% a year, natural depletion of capacity. If we don't issue one single permit in the City of Homestead, the area around us is growing. The population is growing in the City of Homestead. Naturally, you're going to lose capacity there. Then when they are ready 10 years from now, actually he asked for it 20 years from now. 20 years from now, the City of Homestead is going to tell him, I guarantee it when he did the 4,000 trips for you, and now citizens of the City of Homestead, you have to deliver. I can't tell you, I hope I will be alive by that time, but if I'm not, they will curse me on my grave. So therefore, I will not recommend to you to ever enter into such reckless agreements. And I'm sorry, I could refer to prior agreements, the City of Homestead,
like the
1993 agreement. This would be the 2008 agreement. I can assure you.
Madam Mayor, can I respond just for a second, because he is addressing me?
In a moment, I have
Yes,
Vice Mayor waiting to speak.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, and you have the floor.
Reading this over as I prepared for this, I wasn't aware that there were going to be this issue here tonight, and I would myself like to go back and look at it again, possibly have some more questions for staff, where I can sit back in the back and ask them some questions. So at this time, if we could, I'd like to put on the floor a motion of deferral until I can get some questions answered in the back.
There's nothing to defer for this item. This item has nothing to do with the Algiers property.
No, I'm not worried about the Algiers property. This legislative thing, the changes, some of the questions I would maybe like to go back and ask. Am I allowed to do that?
I think that...
And get some clarification from James when I can sit down and work with him a little bit. Probably. I wasn't aware.
I wouldn't
and this isn't anything to do with the Algiers property. I just want to make sure that I understand fully and that this is where we're going with this and look at it maybe a little bit better.
I think that I understand that certainly if you want to offer a motion, you're certainly entitled to offer a motion on the floor. But the reason I couldn't support the motion is because of the fact that this isn't a completely separate issue that needs to be worked out with staff. It really has no particular bearing on this right here. Okay. But I understand.
And I'm not doing it for their particular case or anything. I just some questions that maybe I would like to ask, and sit down and have a workshop with James or something. I wasn't aware that this would cause such problems, for certain, and not for that project. But does it relate to any other projects down the road that we could possibly, that this could lead into the same problems?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Lobos and the manager.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This is, as you can see, second reading. I can tell you personally, because I've been involved, when this first came out on the agenda, we did have several attorneys contact the office, and they contacted myself. There was a lot of confusion as far as expiration dates, length of time, when payment was going to be due, whether payment was going to be, if, for some reason the developer walked away from the project.
whether it was going to be reimbursable or credited. And so we have spent a lot of time answering attorneys' questions, developers' questions. I know that both James and Cherie have looked this over quite a bit. We beat up on it to ensure that it was as clear as possible. Now, some of the language that some of the attorneys wanted to, and I want to clarify too that this was not one of the developers or attorneys that came to us, but there was some language that we just cannot specifically state. I mean, there's a reason why the language is the way that it is. So, I wish that at the time that everybody was coming forth with concerns and questions, that would have been the time prior to the first reading. I know, Vice Mayor, you have all rights to propose what you're going to propose. I just know that a lot of work and a lot of rewording of this has been tweaked and done just to address every single concern that has come before. As a matter of fact, I really didn't think that anything was going to happen today because it was second reading and we've been contacted by everybody and their attorneys and clients and developers, and I thought that by now we had answered every question. But I just like to put that on the floor to let you know that we have answered quite a bit of questions and concern over this.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, actually the Vice Mayor asked if we were contacted. Yeah, there was really lots of coordination between us and attorneys and developers, and they are all pleased with the way it's written. Because again, it's all done based on requests from them, and we work out the language where they were very pleased with the extensions.
Mayor Bell? Yeah, just a few months, actually it's already been about 5 or 6 months ago, we had a builder-developer workshop at the Champions Club where we wanted to not only speak to all the developers in the city, but we wanted to hear from them as well, wanted to hear what their concerns were so that we could alleviate some of their concerns in a slowing economy as far as building was going, building and construction. And so actually this came out of a response to trying to help out and assist the builders as far as extensions of time, as far as so that if they have vested and they have 6 months and then they come back for the second 6 months, we wanted to make sure that they had more time, to extend them more time. So this is one of the provisions. So I am very confident that this second reading on this particular ordinance should go through. I think that what we're dealing with here is a completely separate issue that needs to be worked out in an office with the manager and the attorneys and Ms. Kamali, and it needs to be worked out there. That's what should be taking place, actually.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you. Just for the record, go ahead, Councilman. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'm the only one on the council that wasn't contacted. So I wasn't contacted by any developer, by anybody about this. The first time we went first reading, I voted yes because I do believe that there should be an extension on concurrency. However, it doesn't matter whether it's you standing before me or someone else in the audience standing before me. If there's a problem and I didn't know about it, and I wasn't notified by staff either that there was discussion, then I think we should go back and look at it. Vice Mayor, if you're offering a motion, I'll be happy to second that motion when I finish my comment. But this project is a huge project, and we've been working on this project for years and years and years, talking about this project. And my question to staff is, if this is approved tonight and someone does come forward, we can't go back, correct?
Yes.
Make exceptions like that?
Go ahead, Ms.
Well, I just want to clarify something. This is giving the developers time extension on their site plan. So this is a different issue from the interchange.
Well, I'm not talking specifically about the interchange when I ask you can we go back? Once this is passed tonight, can we make exceptions without prejudice?
This is no, but this is giving, instead of a year and a half, you're giving the developers 3 years. So this is a better situation for the developers to have this. But if we pass this, you're 100% correct. We cannot go back and change it to 18 months again.
But I think we're confusing.
Yeah,
we're confusing this issue because this developer spoke up at this particular time. We're confusing this developer issue with this particular ordinance.
No, but Madam Mayor,
Mayor, council members, Councilwoman Wadman.
Be patient.
Just for clarification, this is again, I think you were in the workshop, correct?
At the developer workshop?
It's really what they recommended we incorporated, and we mail it to them as we promised in the workshop, and they sent comments back. Some of them contacted Sherry. I can tell you there was no, update from me to council members. If anybody from the development community or attorneys, maybe they contacted council members directly, but I personally never really had exchange with council members because it wasn't really an issue. Everybody was very pleased with the recommendation, and we incorporated all their comments into the changes. Can we, after we pass this, what we are proposing to do here for second reading is much better than what we have today, and we actually look at other cities, how they are doing it, to deal with the economic situation, and we try to just mirror what other communities are doing. I'm sure everybody is going to be very pleased. Can we do something in the future? In the future, we could, whatever council likes to direct us to do in terms of extending it farther or do any changes we want to do, council can direct us to do. But what we are doing now is much better for development community than what we have today.
Madam Mayor, I was going to add almost exactly what the manager said, which is that, and I don't know if this will allay concerns that you have, Vice Mayor, but this is a first step based upon the workshop that we had with the developers. If in working through some of these other projects, if as time goes on we need to amend it again, this can be amended again, but this will immediately, in a positive way, impact many developments. And if at some point, and after we sit down with you and go through this, further amendments, become look like they should be made, then we can make a recommendation of that. But the fact that you passed this evening certainly doesn't hurt this developer. He's in the same position he was, or better. And if we need to come back and make some other changes after there's meetings and so forth, we can certainly do that. It just takes a couple of readings and a couple of meetings.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Councilman Lobos, and then I have to defer to Councilman Lobos.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. I just want to clarify, I didn't say this when I was talking. I am the chair for the City Code Committee, and so all of the conversation that has come through to me has been because of the committee that I've been assigned, and so that's how I know how much Ms. Kamali and Mr. James have been working on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I wanted to clarify for the council, we were not here to object to the ordinance. We were here, and I don't disagree with Rick and Mike, that we didn't know about the involvement, and we apologize for coming at the second reading.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Quite frankly, it was under our radar. We're not here in opposition. We had some questions that we felt needed to be clarified. For instance, let me give you an example. On page 7, on the extension, it talks about the city manager may grant 1 6-month extension to the Certificate of Concurrency Compliance and related transportation proportionate fair share agreement or development agreement approved in connection with the Certificate of Concurrency Compliance. So if I read that, it sounds like the Certificate of Concurrency Compliance is coming at the same time that I enter into a development agreement, which means that I enter into a development agreement, and a year and a half thereafter, my Certificate of Concurrency Compliance has expired. So we're really seeking, and maybe James, if you can speak to that, I mean, we're really raising, it's not that we're in opposition, but it's relative to our predicament. We just wanted to ask points of clarification. So does that mean that we get the Certificate of Concurrency Compliance at the development agreement and proportionate fair share stage?
I believe it's just referring to an extension of time.
No, understood. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. I'll just finish. That way I can just wrap up before he weighs in, because then I may lose the floor. Going back to the manager, with all due respect, and the reason that I said the administration is out of civility and courtesy to the manager, so as not to say Mike or the city manager, because it was a combination of Sherry and Mike and the administration. Nothing personal to Mike. I think Mike does a fabulous job as your city attorney, or so I've heard. We had been negotiating a development agreement, and these are my final points, for about a year and a half. Throughout that period of time, in negotiations with James, throughout, the vesting period was between 10 or 15 years.
Our first meeting, you told me 20.
I think it may have been 20 in any event. It wasn't 3 years. It was 10, 15, 20 years. That's the time, and we can look at drafts. Pursuant to the transmittal and the various resolutions, the Alger family has incurred $1 million in expenditures in reliance on the city's previous actions relative to the transmittal. of the plan amendment, which was transmitted, and various resolutions passed by the City Commission. We then are called into a meeting at the 11th hour, just before the deadline for the transmittal of the plan amendment, and for the first time I meet your city manager. We have been dealing with James and Sherry for 2 years. Sherry, I'm sorry. At that time, the city manager, out of left field, tells us, I'm giving you 3 years and nothing more. And we were a little taken aback. We were quite surprised. And so we walked out of that meeting. We said, Mr. Manager, we can agree to disagree. Let's work through this, et cetera, et cetera. Please allow our plan amendment to be on the agenda. I will tell you that we have never been invited to a meeting that we didn't make. And so I would be hopeful that somebody will clarify what meeting we were invited to that we didn't make, because there was no such meeting that we were made aware of. We then thought, okay, what do you typically do in local government? I've been practicing local government law for 22 years. I represent local governments. I'm board counsel of the South Florida Water Management District. If you think that the manager and the administration are telling you you're only going to get 3 years, who do you appeal to? You appeal to the policymakers. We agree to disagree with the manager. He's given you his perspective. Let us give you ours. We were told the manager doesn't want you to approach the city council. By God, in the 22 years that I've been practicing local government law, I have never been told that I cannot approach the city council on a position.
Okay, we've gone way beyond what we would have given anybody.
But I think this is important to say, Madam Mayor.
I think you've said everything. I think you've said, and you know.
And all we want is to be heard?
Yes, and I think you have been.
Okay.
I think you've been very well heard. Thank you.
May I just say one last thing?
Mr.
Please.
Manager. I'm going to
close. Out of my mouth, he would be vested for 3 years. Never, ever came out of my mouth. There were enough people sitting in that meeting. And for him to come here and misrepresent facts again offends me. He says he's not offending the city manager. He is offending me big times. Because you do not come here and start saying things that I did not say. I discussed it with you, and actually when you saw my position that I will not agree to 10 years, he said, don't worry about it, I work it out with the city attorney. That's one. Second of all, I'm a new city manager. This is the first time this issue comes to my attention. I don't care if he negotiated with the prior administration for 50 years. I don't care. Now I am the city manager, and I'm going to be making a recommendation to you. The Algers invested $1 million. I believe they invested money in that project. That money is not wasted. That money still applies for anything they're going to do for that project. You know, I may be stupid in planning, but you cannot tell me that you have 20 years as an attorney, therefore nobody understands anything but you. We are trying to work with the Algers family. We went to Tallahassee to Orlando to work with the Algers family, and I can tell you, if you don't want to put an interchange there, be my guest. We're going to move the interchange to another location. I promise you. So we're trying to work together here, and you don't just come here and just make threats and misrepresentation of facts. You did it. So I want for the people who are watching it on TV to know that I never gave you 3 years. I said we need to sit down and discuss it. I can work out a plan with you but you don't want to take any financial risk. You want to place the risk on the citizens of the city of Homestead. And again, I will never recommend it to council. If they want to approve it without my recommendation, that's okay with me. But it's not going to be the city manager's recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to call the question and close this item. Mr. Vice Mayor, are you making a motion or not?
No, Mayor, with the assurance from the attorney that if we pass this tonight, if we need to go back for future changes, we are allowed to do that, and this doesn't...
Right, and I'd ask James to set up a meeting with you so you can sit down and go through this and whatever detail you need.
Good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
No.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman McCormick?
Yes.
Mayor Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Chapter 22, Public Improvements, Article 2, Stormwater Utilities, Section 2255, fees to provide for an increase in the stormwater utility fee, authorizing further revisions by resolution, providing for settlability, inclusion in the code, a savings clause, and an effective date.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move.
A second. It's been probably moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? This is a second reading. I want to say the stormwater fee increase equals 7 cents per month. 7 cents. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Waldman?
No.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman McCormick?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
This is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Chapter 2 Administration by amending Article 8 Contracts and Purchasing of Division 2 Competitive Bids by amending Section 2-424 Conflict of Interest revised and conform Section 2-424 to the provisions of state law as set forth in Part 3 of Chapter 112 Code of Ethics for Public Officers and Employees, Florida statutes to conform Section 2-11.1 Conflict of Interest and Code of Ethics Ordinance of the Miami-Dade County Code, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, and effective date. This is the second reading and public hearing.
I move it. A second. Yeah, this has been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? Public hearing. Any comments or questions from the public? Close the public hearing. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving auditing services agreement and recognizing competitive bidding exemption for auditing services agreement between the city and Alberti Caballero and Castellanos LLP in accordance with the City Code Section 2411.1A2 exemptions from competitive bidding, providing for an effective date.
I'll move it. I'll second. Yeah, it's been properly moved and seconded. I will speak to this item. I've been interviewing for internal auditors. I'm still interviewing, and we have Human Resources setting up hopefully 2 more interviews this week. And if it's not been one thing, it's been another. But I didn't want to wait any longer, so what I want to do is I wanted to have a resolution where we had an internal auditing company there on standby that they can come in and they can get to work in a few areas in the city of Homestead that I believe need a good looking at. So that way, while we're still in the interview process, I want to share something with you. It occurred to me that what I think has been happening, and I'm just going to tell it like it is, what I think has been, Marcy's going to go, oh, gotta just tell the truth. What I think's happening is, as we get some people and they seem so wonderful and qualified, and they ask me, tell me about the position, and a lot of them have done their homework. They understand it. I just interviewed a man who was absolutely fabulous and just so good, and everything checked out beautifully. And then after the interview, I get a call later that he didn't really want to deal with the political climate or politics. And I think what's happening is I think some of them are going home after the interview and they're Googling and they're seeing what happened with the prior auditor. And I think that they saw that he got fired, and one of the questions is, is this position, guaranteed position, and on. And so that's what I think is really stifling this, is that when we get people that I think we're ready to hire, I think they get scared off. So people they want a job that's going to be longevity, not 3 months or 4 months. So I think that's what's happening. So I did not want to wait any longer. We're still interviewing. We have some really good prospects, but I've been saying that. So I just don't want to wait any longer. I don't want to keep the public waiting any longer, and I just really think that we have areas in our city that need to be looked at. So that being said, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Councilwoman Lobos and Vice Mayor.
Mayor Bell, are you going to continue to interview applicants for auditors? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. This is a stopgap because I wanted somebody in there now while we're in the interview process. I think that there's plenty of work to do that we can start. And if we do hire somebody in the meantime, then they can finish. Thank you, Councilwoman. Vice Mayor.
Yes, I see where we've got an available balance of $120,000. Then under expenditures, it says to be determined. If we're not able to hire an individual at a salary, do we feel that we're okay and that this firm can come in and do the job with the monies and that we have available to do a complete job as we're looking to get done? I remember reading by the hour, but I don't remember any kind of
Right.
Of course, it depends on the number of tasks, but I could tell you if we're going to hire them for the entire year comfortably, $120,000, and that's the money we budgeted for an auditor in case we don't find one, definitely will suffice to do the magnificent job.
That was my only question with the open end there.
Mayor Bell. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman Sierra and then Councilwoman Waldman.
Yes, I did notice that during their hourly ranges, I don't know if you noticed this, Vice Mayor, but on page 159 of our screen, where they're giving us a discounted rate, and they're different departments. So feeling that, even if we had to go for a longer period of time than what we really want to go through, I think that will be sufficient. As long as we start getting someone in there and helping us out to make sure that we're spending the monies correctly, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Waldman.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. After hearing what you said, Mayor Bell, I tend to agree with you. And that would be that if people are being scared off, then just as we do with the manager and other positions that work for the pleasure of council, perhaps with a trial period, we could give them a contract. And I think that might be something that would ease the fears of potential people, and that's what I would recommend.
Thank you. And actually, I thought of that, so thank you. And I approached the HR with it, the manager, and that's exactly what I thought. The problem is you can't give a contract to somebody that hasn't gone through a probationary period.
A trial period.
Because you don't know them yet, you haven't seen their work yet. So that being said, yes, I think the contract idea is an excellent idea. I already broached that with our department, and once somebody has passed the probationary period, yes, we could do that. So we definitely are looking into that. Thank you very much. Mr. Manager.
May I just add one more thing just for the rest of council members and people here and viewing audience. One of the partners, and Marcy, I don't know his last name, Nestor, some of us, Councilwoman Waldman, Mayor, this guy did work for the city in the past. Actually, he used to be the auditor before, when Jan Frennis, he used to work for Rockland Cohen, started his firm. Now he's doing some of the pension plans, an outstanding individual, and he will be, of course, our contact person. Some of you, Councilwoman Waldman, I think you're familiar with him. He does an outstanding job, so I think that's how we connected with this firm.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. Any further comments or questions from council?
I have a comment, Mayor Bell.
Councilwoman.
I just wanted to say that I am pleased with the engagement team, that it includes 3 members, and I know that Nestor Caballero is one of the partners, and that actually addresses our concern that we had with going with a firm, is continuity, to have a firm come in and to, I'm very familiar with audits, and what you do is every year you get a different person, and every year you have to explain from point A and bring them up to speed. And so I'm pleased that there's 3 individuals that are going to be assigned to the City of Homestead. Therefore, they can familiarize themselves with how the city works and will be able to be effective auditors, just as we intended to have the internal auditor position be.
Thank you very much. We definitely wanted the continuity, and I did interview him, and that we will have the same people assigned, so they will become very, very familiar with the city. Thank you. I'll call a question on this. Did you have a question, Councilman? All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes carry. Thank you very much. We'll now open the floor for public comment.
No,
Oh, is that it?
Number 15.
Oh, yeah.
It's on my thing. When did you take it off? I'm sorry, maybe they took it off and it was online.
Oh, okay.
It's on
that's it.
Yeah, it's on our list.
Thank you. Business from the city manager?
Mayor, council members, actually I'm going to have business tonight. Just for the information of everybody and people at home, the City of Homestead participated in a project that's been going on for a few years now, and it's improving practically every year. Local mitigation strategy project, and that's for properties that fall within the floodplain. And I'm just bringing it to it. It doesn't require any approval. It's just information only.
I'm sorry, but the Vice Mayor was confusing me because he was telling me it was an item under my business and it was an item under your business. So I couldn't find it. Well, I really was. Thank you. Continue. I'm sorry. Continue.
So it's just to tell the community that the staff work with this National Flood Insurance Program, and they gave us a rating Class 8, which means if you buy flood insurance in the City of Homestead, you will get a 10% discount because the City of Homestead participated in this program and some of the improvement projects we are doing. So this is just for information only. Also, I would say that, when we went through the budget presentation, we said we're going to be doing some city-sponsored, CRA, City of Homestead sponsored events, and we're going to have the first event is going to be a family Ford Fest. And practically, we're going to have music and good stuff, and it's going to be October 25th, and it's going to be 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. then. And it's going to be several groups, and some of the local, like the Homestead Merchants Association, are helping. They're not sponsoring anything. They are helping just with the planning, and we welcome participation of anybody who likes to help. But it's going to be city-funded, city-sponsored, city banner there that, CRA is paying for the first event, and we will try to have an event every month. The flyer is going to be in our website, cityofhomestead.com, so please read it. We would love to see you come there, and the more participation we have in downtown, the more successful the programs will be, and the more things we will be able to do. The other thing, again, as a follow-up to the meeting we had with the developers in the in the Champions Club, they requested to take another look at the Southwest Master Plan, and we agreed to have some kind of focus group. It's not a committee, it's a focus group. Anybody who likes to come is more than welcome to come and participate. We will take all comments, and we try to incorporate whatever we think is in the best interest of the area. And I know some of the things that we have in the plan. May not please certain individuals, but it really has to please the entire area for us to be able to incorporate changes. But we are going to this meeting. It's going to be Tuesday, October 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. Again, it's going to be posted on the website, and the location will be here in this room. And we encourage everybody to come and participate.
Thank you for that. That's very much needed to have that workshop on that.
And I can tell you, it took some time because we needed coordination with some attorneys and planners and all that stuff, and we want to make sure it's going to be successful. But there's so much we can do on our end, and we need community participation. So that's why we're making this announcement. And please spread the gospel if you can. People would like to. One last thing, Mayor. It is truly my honor and my staff honor to congratulate you for being one of the finalists for the Councilwoman of the Year.
Thank you.
I know council members may say something, but this is really just representing me, my assistant Joanna Fadis, and the rest of staff. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
I'm done, Mayor.
With your indulgence, I would like to go ahead and move up the Mayor's Youth Council appointment so they don't have to wait for all of the business of the council. But I'd like to go ahead and, you know what, I see that we have all three here. So with Amber Woods, Robbie Dolan, and Jerry Rivera, would you all stand up, please? And I would now like this council entertain a motion to approve these appointments for the Mayor's Youth Council.
I'll move it.
I'll second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Look at those three beautiful faces, of course. All in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Thank you. And I congratulate you. We look forward to great things from you. We're going to be watching. Thank you very much. Councilman Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things this week. I attended the Kohl's grand opening. Nice to see a big box store come into our area and grab a hold of it and provide a lot of new jobs for our local economy. And the city manager stole my thunder with the Homestead Merchants Association. I've been attending the meetings, and I wanted to say something about the Family Fall Fest, but he hit it all. They're going to have live music from 6 to midnight, and I think it's going to be 7 or 8 bands throughout the night. A nice family night. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Sierra.
I'd like to start off by saying, Mayor, congratulations on being selected as one of the finalists. One thing I do want to mention is the Tourism Committee currently has an opening available for anybody that would like to join the Tourism Committee. If you are interested, please send an email to Lauren Yoder at lyoder@cityofhomestead.com. One thing I'd like to say, we're adding more and more businesses that are actually donating for our Educator of the Month. And the latest one is Mr. Mark Tulawiki from Broadway Subs. He gave us a couple of $10 gift certificates. And when I was there to pick him up, of course I grabbed lunch that day. Absolutely phenomenal. And he said, Mayor, he's looking forward for you to walk in there soon.
You bought Subs.
The Mayor and I recently met. Broadway Subs. The Mayor and I recently met with Miss Janet Huff. She's the Miami-Dade County Public Schools South Regional Superintendent. We had an opportunity to share our vision for our schools with each other. As you know, education is something that's we take very, very seriously here in the city of Homestead, and we're continuing our meetings. Our next meeting is with newly elected school board member Dr. Larry Feldman, and I will be keeping you in touch with what's going on with that. We're looking forward to that. That's tomorrow, I believe. No? Tomorrow. Real Men Read from Homestead Middle School will take place on Thursday, November 13th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. If you are a man and would like to participate, contact C.C. McGrath, who is the reading coach, or contact me and I'll get you in touch with her. Currently, I am so pleased to say that we have 3 Homestead employees that will be participating, Mr. Ken Conkle and Andrew Prezionsi from the electric utilities, and Ray Ortiz from Development Services. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me to have our city employees participating in this very wonderful event. On September 10, 26, I attended the 93rd Annual Chamber Installation Banquet like most of us did, and I wanted to congratulate Jerome Williams on his new appointment, and I wish his new board and himself great success in the coming months. And last but not least, I did say this at the Cal meeting, but I wanted to repeat it at the council meeting. From January 2008 to August 2008, the city of Homestead increased their voters, the number of voters, by 16%. I thank everyone that went out and registered to vote, and I'm hoping that by the November election we'll have an even higher number of registered voters, but more importantly, people that got out and voted. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilwoman Sierra. Councilwoman Waldman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have quite a bit of things here, but let me get busy. It was my privilege to attend the anniversary party for Congresswoman Carrie P. Meek's business incubator. It's funny because when I got there, I just gotten out of the hospital, and I thought, well, I'm just going to stay for a few minutes. I just wanted to come by and say congratulations. But there were so many great success stories. I ended up being one of the last ones to leave. And I just want to say congratulations to Hilda and to all the staff over there. They've done a wonderful job. I know Mrs. Ward, who was here tonight, she's someone that started there at the incubator and is now graduated and is doing good things for our city. So it's a wonderful opportunity that we have to have the incubator here. I'm also very proud to announce that after, I think it was 3 long years with tons of crime, the villages of Homestead, we were able to put together a crime watch. And the rules have changed. For those of you who have communities, it's no longer the 3/4 majority vote of your homeowners association. So it's only your block. So we have many, many blocks on board. The signs are going to start going up. I want to thank Captain Kent and the police department for stopping the crime wave that was over there. We haven't, as far as I know, we haven't had any trouble. I don't want to know either. But Crime Watch is going into effect, and the signs will be going up very, very soon. Today in the Miami Herald, I was so excited. I've known about this for some time, but I was waiting for Mayor Manny Diaz to make it public. But today in the Miami Herald, there was an article entitled, "Miami Rides a Green Wave Toward a Bike-Friendly City." And the city of Miami, they have just gone all out, and this is Mayor Diaz's legacy to the city of Miami. He is striving to make the city of Miami an example to all communities in Dade County to show that there is an alternative to automobiles. And Mayor Diaz states that each community has an opportunity to revitalize neighborhoods and to make streets welcoming to pedestrians, as well as reducing auto dependency and carbon emissions. And on October 16th, Mayor Diaz will present to the Commission a bike action plan that outlines where new bike lanes, bike boulevards, and designated bike routes should be created. And one of those routes will be the connection to my parkway, my greenway, the Park to Park Greenway that we started many years ago. And I'm so excited to announce this because at the Park Summit, the Park to Park Greenway was I'm not going to say voted, but it was elected or selected, I'll use the word selected, to be the #1 focus for the next 50 years for Dade County Parks and Recs and Dade County government. So it's very exciting that this has finally come to pass. And our 3-day bicycle event that I'm planning will be held in May. I'll bring flyers to the next meeting. We've already started our committee meetings, and it's going to be a huge event. International sponsors, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope that it will once again raise awareness and raise the awareness that we need to make our city more bike friendly. Again, even in the new City Hall, I've asked that maybe we could have showers or some sort of accommodations for people who want to ride their bikes to work. And I think that's the way of the future, and I think we have the right city to do that. So, Mayor Bell, I hope that you'll support me on that. I've had many inquiries and letters regarding the Kindness Award. We're going to keep taking the nominations until the end of October, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be tough trying to decide. There's so many good people here in our city. Just drop off your letters or email your letters to jwaldman@cityofhomestead.com, and we'll be making the announcement in November. I was in the hospital under the weather, so I was unable to attend the Coles ribbon cutting. But don't worry, I made up for it. I went over, Janice is laughing. I went over, I had a wonderful tour of the store. My husband hated it that I went probably when he saw me unloading the car. But it's a beautiful store, and we're so lucky to have all the new stores that are coming there in that development. It's going to be great, and I'm very excited that I don't have to go north to shop. I attended the MAC luncheon last week, and it was my privilege to arrange for Lieutenant Colonel Williams to be the guest speaker. Colonel Williams was a pilot with the World War II Tuskegee Airmen, and he's 92 years old. He was one of the original black pilots who fought for freedom for our country. So, Mayor Bell, I'm going to ask him to come before council right around Veterans Day, whatever meeting is the closest to that, and give a brief presentation. I just think he is a dynamo. He's my hero. He drives the coolest convertible. He's 92, and he's great. So I just think it's important that the city appreciates having him here, and it's something I think that the audience will enjoy listening to as well. And speaking of the Military Affairs Committee, the golf tournament is this coming Friday, and we are low. I mean, with the economy the way it is, as of Thursday, we only had 10 teams signed up, and we normally have 26. And at that time, we only had one $100 tea sponsor. And I'm asking all the businesses to consider donating or sponsoring at least a tea. I'm not asking for the big sponsorships, but at least a $100 sponsorship for your business. And remember that all that money stays with the Air Base and works to make life better for our military personnel. I want to say congratulations to the American Businesswomen's Association, which I've been a member of since 1989, I think it is, for their successful Bunko night last week. I know Mayor Bell came with her husband and played, and all those proceeds go to women's scholarships. Again, I will be co-chairing the Relay for Life event with Jill from the Homestead Hospital. And I know that we're already on board, but this is for the television audience, to encourage everyone to start forming your teams and start your fundraising. And just a reminder that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm sorry to say that my phone just keeps ringing much too often with news of somebody else who's been diagnosed. One out of every seven women will develop breast cancer. So it's very important for you to make your appointment for your mammogram. And if you have dense breast, I encourage you to please get a referral from your doctor and have an ultrasound or an MRI, because that will save your life. And if you don't, count them off, 1 out of every 7 women. I'm sorry, 1 out of 7 women. I'd also like to say a big thank you to the 5th floor nurses station at the hospital. They're great. I promised I'd say thank you and hello. And I'd like to say happy birthday to my grandson, Anthony. He was 8 years old yesterday, so happy birthday, Anthony. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could take 1 or 2 minutes of the council time, and Amber doesn't normally do this, but if Amber could come up and give about a 1 or 2 minute speech on the Get Hype program here that she would like to put on October the 18th. Pressure's on over at the Harris Field Pavilion when I get done. I'll give you a minute to gather your thoughts. Then I certainly would appreciate it. I too have been very busy, but before I forget, I want to mention again that somebody who's near and dear to everybody here at the city, that there's going to be a benefit spaghetti dinner for Patty Sullivan.
That's right.
On October the 18th, and over at the Lake Shore Clubhouse. And I believe the best way to get the tickets is through Fran Schwartz, back in Service Developments and Planning and Zoning. On the October the 14th at 8:30 in the morning here in the council chambers, we'll have the Community Image Advisory Board meeting. What else I had? I had the honor of stepping in for the mayor up at Parrot Jungle, or I believe that's the correct name of it.
Jungle Island.
Jungle Island, thank you. As a city representative, we signed a covenant to all the military. It was sponsored by the Army and Southcom and everybody up there, and all it did was it had 3 different steps to it. One of them was how the military is going to support the people in the military. Another one is how the local governments can help to support them, and then the 3rd step of it was how the citizens can back these people up by letting them go off and be the, make sure their jobs are safe when they come home and stuff like that. And it was very, very nice, a well-attended event, and then I was very surprised at how many people were up there and how it was supported so well. And with that said, one last thing. Councilwoman Sierra and myself went down to a Hall of Champions luncheon where Curtis Gray was from the Speedway was honored, and he was put into the Hall of Champions, which is something that the Greater Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce has just started back doing again. So that was a big honor for him. So I want to give Curtis a big thank you for all he does for Homestead, and congratulations on the award that he got. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Miss Amber Woods, and she can give you a 2-minute synopsis of what Get Hype and on October the 19th over at Harris Field, what she's planning and has been planning for a long, long time, with a few speed bumps in the way of what we'd like to do for the Mayor's Youth Council to get started. Thank you.
Okay. Get Hype stands for Greater Empowerment Through Helping Young People Engage. And the idea came from the SOS concert that happened, I think, about a year ago. I know a lot of teenagers didn't get to see it, so they didn't really have an idea of what was going on when it was brought up. And I wanted to bring teenagers' attention to global issues, and I know there are more issues that they can get involved with locally, and it dawned on me that teenagers need the 75 hours, or sometimes it ranges from 50 or however many hours they need for community service to graduate. And so I came up with this idea to have an event and have nonprofit organizations giving out information, like the Habitat for Humanity and different organizations like that, giving out information so that teenagers can find better ways to help out the community, and having them get up and do a small presentation on global issues that they can actually go online and make donations and do fun things and make presentations about that. And there are things like a website where you can go and you answer vocabulary questions, and for every question you get right, they donate grains of rice and things like that. So they'll give out information on that. They'll give out information on how the teenagers can help out with their organizations. And there'll be bands playing so that the teenagers will have something else to listen to and something to actually get into. And we're going to set up Miss Homestead. The foundation will have a table there giving out information on that. And oh yes, The Homestead Museum, because I want to bring more attention to Mrs. Campbell's museum, we're going to have her set up a nice table so she'll get more attention. And we're going to have recycling bins set up around the trash cans and signs that say you can throw that away, make Mount Trash more stink more, or you can recycle it. And hopefully a lot of teenagers will show up. And we want to bring more attention to local businesses too. So we'll be doing a small raffle of little things that they want to donate.
Excellent. Sounds excellent. Thank you.
Amber came to us with this idea last spring, and with the staff and all, we didn't think the timing was right, and we've hit a few speed bumps this fall, but hopefully it'll all work out and make it we can make it an annual event to help all the students and everybody down here, and not just the students, but the community groups that need people to come volunteer and to help them. So thank you, Amber.
Thank you, John, very much. Councilwoman Lobos.
Thank you, Mayor Bell. My comments will be quick. I'll be leaving right afterwards. My son's right now playing a football game that started at 7:30 out at Harris Field, so I want to go see if I can catch the end of that game. I have two statements, Mayor Bell, and they're personal and military themed. So, Ms. Sheila Shedd, if you can bring up the pictures. This morning I had the honor of flying an incentive flight with the Air Force Base. They selected me to go join as a passenger, and my pilot was Pilot Rutro. And so I just wanted to share with the council and with the audience two pictures from this morning. My flight lasted an hour and 20 minutes. And I will be sending thank yous to everybody that took their time to train me, and to, that's me waving from the plane. And so I really appreciate it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, a surreal experience, and I told my pilot, you're going to be part of a memory that's going to be with me forever. So I really appreciated that. And on that note, I also wanted to share with you all, I've been spending a lot of time with my family this past week. My mom, Linda Canty, is on her way to Iraq next week, and she will be there for 6 months as a civilian. And so we're doing all the final preparations of making sure that she's off and that all the business is taken care of here locally. So I know she's watching on the webcam, and she'll be watching again on TV. So I just want to tell you that our family loves you. We're going to miss you, and we look forward to welcoming you home in 6 months. Thank you.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes, Mayor Bell. November 6th, there will be a town hall meeting at the Fiker Williams Center in the Southwest area, and there we'll discuss some future plans and also any concerns that the residents have for the Southwest section. On the memo, I have the time at 7, but I'd like to get the time pushed back to 6 o'clock if that's possible. On Thursday at 4:30 in the council chamber, we have the first Southwest Advisory Committee meeting. The public is welcome and also encouraged to come out and share and look at the ideas that we have for the Southwest Committee or for the Southwest residents. I see that the activity going on at the Holiday Home Makeover. I'm very pleased to see that finally we're getting her back in the home. We're taking the steps to get her back in. I spoke to her gentleman. He said probably by December that she should be in. So we're looking at almost 2 months, and so that's fair time. She's been out since 2006, as many of you are aware. So it's very pleasing to see that we're getting some work done over there. I thank the mayor, the city manager, also Dan Wick on their efforts in helping us get this thing back on the roll again.
Pleasure.
I met with Commissioner Dennis Moss last week. It was in reference to a meeting that I had with him a couple months ago. And he had an idea. He has some services that they do in the county, but he's trying to bring those services to the local part of the county, which is in Homestead. He has an office in Homestead. So if anybody has any suggestions on any county services that you'd like to see in Homestead, you can send me an email at mmccormick@cityofhomestead.com, and I will get those suggestions over to Commissioner Moss, so we don't have to ride all the way to the county commissioner's office to speak or relay our request. So once again, just give me an email, and I get over to Commissioner Moss. That's all I have, Mayor Bill.
Thank you very much, Councilman. I have a couple of announcements that I would like to make before I get to my business. The city is partnering with Radio RCH to collect donations for the hurricane victims of Haiti. A drop box will be located at the city clerk's office. They're accepting clothes and non-perishable foods will also be collected. And also, I also spoke with Mr. Pressa, and cash is also
welcome so that they can get it right into the hands of the local mayors and so they can get it right into the hands of the people who really need it the most. So thank you very much to Radio RCH. I know this community has really stepped up and done a great work as far as donations with Rise to the Occasion, with the mayors and different in the communities and the county giving money through Galata over to Haitian mayors, so thank you for that. Also, the city's Christmas tree lighting ceremony has been scheduled for December the 8th at 6 p.m. on the City Hall lawn by the lake, so let's all look forward to that. I'm going to be very brief. Also attended the Carrie P. Meek Center for Business Anniversary, and it really was a great event. It was very, very well done. Just this last week, the manager and we went to a Florida Department of Transportation roundtable, and they had the U.S. They had the U.S. Department Secretary as well as the Secretary of FDOT of the state of Florida. It was a very interesting roundtable discussion on traffic and traffic planning, and of course the manager and I got to speak personally with the Secretary of FDOT because we do have some plans for Chrome Avenue and some ideas that we're trying to pitch on the local level. So that was a good meeting. Also, we attended a welcome party for Colonel Binger, welcome reception for him, and it went very, very well. Him and his wife Mo, and actually I called her up and let her know when Kohl's had its soft opening so that she could get there first. And of course, Colonel Binger thanked me for all the trips he had to make from the car. The spaghetti dinner that we had for Patches was it was a very, very good success. And I don't know if you know, but Patches is a place that takes care of very, very sick, disabled children with many very special medical needs during the daytime while parents work and the parents that can't take care of these children full time. It was a success, and we raised a lot of money. Again, the chamber installation banquet was great. And also last week I had a civics class from the Waterstone K through 8 come here to City Hall, and we gave them a civics lesson, talked to them about local government, and then gave them a complete tour of City Hall. And I'm going to be doing it again at least 2 more times with different schools in the community, and that's basically a civics tour with the mayor. So the schools are really appreciating that. I also attended a conference, a Main Street conference, to learn a little bit more about how to properly operate a downtown organization as far as ideas for downtown, ideas to help renovate a downtown. And I learned a lot, and I came back and gave some of the ideas to the manager, and so we'll be taking a little field trip and really examining what our downtown really, really needs. So anyway, I tried to do it in a very quick abbreviation. I want to thank you all for attending this meeting. Thank you so much. With no more business to attend to, this meeting is adjourned.